nothing in animal protein. Maybe vitamin B12 is the only thing. Every once in a while I take a vitamin B12 every day, and maybe a vitamin D, but I don't take any other supplements. I don't think people have to. In other words, you do not need animal protein to get all the essential amino acids. That is nonsense. Frances Lappe Moore solved that problem many, many years ago. She wrote a book about animal protein being complete protein. You had to eat animal protein. 7 years later, she wrote a book, recanted, and said that was incorrect. If you had to certain sicknesses, you shouldn't be eating animal protein. Like if you're losing kidney function, it's not a good idea to eat the animal protein because it's putting the burden on your kidneys. Or, this animal protein is 3 amino acids in animal protein are very growth promoting. That's why young people that lift weights like eating animal protein. It promotes growth. And heme iron, which is different than the iron that's in plants, that promotes growth. The animal protein promotes the growth of IGF-1. So anybody that has anything that's any type of cancer should think twice before they eat a lot of animal protein. That's for sure, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, what about the essential fatty acids? The omega-3.
You can get them all from a plant source.
Okay.
You're basically talking about omega-3s from.
Yeah.
You have to. I've never, in my 60 years, I've never taken any. So that's my choice. I have no problems with my cognitive function. My mind, right now at 93, works as good as it did when I was 45. Maybe better. Okay, a good way for people to start is to make their objective in the beginning to leave out the processed food, to try to eat a plant-based diet and small amounts of the other things. But if you leave out the processed food, in 3 months, you're going to see a change in what's going on. I mean, your body weight comes down. I got to be careful what I say here, but you'll see dramatic change in what's going on because you're giving your body a chance to really do what it was designed to do. Most people today, the way they are, the body's doesn't have free reign over their chemistry. Most everything is chemical and action and reaction. So when you incorporate a lot of these foods that people are eating into their lifestyle, your body has to work harder to put more of a burden on the internal organs. Your liver performs probably 500 different functions. And there's a lot of people today have a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and so a lot of people getting liver transplants and they don't even drink. So a lot of that has to do with diet soda and a lot of the other stuff. So people have to think about, they got to start leaving out, get rid of the processed food. Most people seem to be getting the impression that if you eat some vegetables, and a lot of people won't eat fruit, they think the sugar is gonna is a problem. That's a mistake, as far as I'm concerned. And and they're taking supplements. I see so many people come to me. They're taking 10, 15 supplements, and I don't. If they're not necessary, I don't recommend a lot of supplements. Any diet, just like the carnivore diet, where you're just eating animal protein, it does work and seem to work in the beginning. Of course, you're leaving out. The same thing with a fruitarian diet. About my friend who lived on a fruitarian diet. In the beginning, he did wonderful, about 7, 8 years. He ended up dying from tuberculosis. So it didn't work in the long run. So there's no sensible reason, for somebody to try to just live on one food is totally unnecessary. Of course, when I was running marathons in the beginning, when I first started running marathons, I wasn't eating enough fruit. I couldn't run a long distance. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. And then there was a couple guys that were trying to convince me that it wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work unless I started eating more fruit. As soon as I started eating more fruit, I was able to run long distances. And I was able to eat some fruit while I was running. I was able to run for hours and hours. I used to do a 22-mile run along Highland Boulevard from Cromwell Avenue out to the end of Highland Boulevard. I did it every other week. But in the first couple of years on a raw diet, I wasn't getting enough calories. I didn't have the energy, and I didn't realize why. I didn't want to eat too much, but I had to eat. So I regulate the amount of food I eat based on my physical activity. I just don't eat fruit, tons of fruit indiscriminately. I don't do that. That's not for what I do. But I have the guys that come to me that are Ironman triathletes, and most of them are on a starch-based vegan diet, which I'm perfectly fine with. They got tremendous endurance. So they eat a diet that's like 60% raw, and they eat potatoes, sweet potatoes, and things like that, and it gives them tremendous stamina. And they're not thin, they're not skinny. Believe me, some of these guys are put together, and they don't eat animal protein. I mean, so there's so many misconceptions out there. I do not recommend somebody try to live on fruit alone. That's a mistake. If you're very active, yeah, your body don't secrete insulin for about a half hour to 45 minutes after you do a long run or you do a long swim. That's what I started to do. After I ran, I would eat more fruit than I did normally. Not a tremendous amount, though. I don't recommend that. There are people that do that. I don't think that's a real great key for longevity myself. And another thing I want to say, though, is fruit does not cause diabetes. So there's a lot of people that I see. I had a medical doctor that helped to get into functional medicine. She ate a lot of fruit, and her blood sugar went down, and her body weight went down. So it's the fat. The insulin receptors from eating processed food and a lot of fat, it doesn't pick up the insulin, so you don't stabilize your sugar.
So
sugar does not cause diabetes, fat does.
If somebody's eating not exclusive fruit, but if they're eating a good amount of fruit, what is the danger of eating a good amount of fruit without exercising?
Well, I don't want to say it's dangerous, but you're making your body, again, what you're doing is you're making your body work harder than it has to. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say it'll cause metabolic syndrome. I don't think it's going to do that, which can be a real problem. But your body has to produce more insulin. What could happen is what happened to me, is that I started to eat too much fruit, and what happened my body over responded with producing more insulin, so my blood sugar would go up and it would go down. I didn't realize it. Gee, that's amazing. I ate quite a bit of fruit, and I knew my blood sugar would go down. Then I started to test it. So I found out that my body was producing more insulin that was necessary, and my blood sugar, instead of going up, which I wanted to accomplish after a hard 22-mile run, my blood sugar actually went down. So I end up eating, stretching the food out when I was eating the fruit, or eating less fruit. You don't, I know basically, if we're designed to eat anything, we were designed to eat plenty of fruit. But in our society today, the thing is, you don't need a lot. I mean, you can run a marathon on 3 or 4 bananas. You don't need a lot you don't need. How do I know? Because I did it. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, what I did, the distance I covered when I was eating food. I mean, it's not hearsay. And the body is, there's certain things I won't say. I don't want to say because it's going to sound like nonsense. But all this stuff I've experienced some things with fasting where you have, your body's able to switch the body fat right away, and you're able to perform feats of endurance while, when you're fasting. But you don't, you just don't do that unless you have experience doing it, I don't doubt these people eat quite a bit of fruit, and, it's foolish to leave out the greens. That's the way I look at it, and there's people telling people that are recommending a carnivore diet that the vegetables are poison. That's utterly ridiculous. That's preposterous. They don't have a clue what's really going on there. And once you go into that type of a diet, going back seems like it can't be done because you feel very uncomfortable unless somebody guides you through it. you might have trouble going back. You know what I'm saying? I
Sure.
definitely don't recommend people experiment. Go on that. Um, if you want to eat a lot of animal protein, make sure you're eating a lot of vegetables. I'll put it that way.
As for the greens, when you said it's foolish to leave out the greens, are green juices, in your opinion, just as good as whole salad greens? Are they two different things, or one can
No, they
replace the
serve
other?
two. No, they serve two different purposes. Yeah, if you're drinking the juice, you're not getting the fiber, which is undigestible cellulose. So you need a certain amount of fiber in your system. Um, People have lived on juices for a long time. Again, I'm not a big proponent of any kind. Of course, I love juicing. I have the Nama J2 juicer. I love it, but I don't recommend people trying to live on juices for forever, for a year or two, or live on fruit alone. I don't recommend it because it's not necessary. To me, that's like people. I had people call me up over the years. They don't do it no more because they want to know if you could live on, be a breatharian. No, not my
Oh,
experience. I
yeah.
think anybody claims that is. We had a couple guys come to New York. One guy was supposed to be a breatharian. I don't know if you heard about that. They caught him eating hamburgers and everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah, the fiber in fruit is digestible fiber. That's why fruit is so good for you too. But the fiber in vegetables, like the inulins, they're they're undigestible fiber. They move everything through you, and they feed your microbiome. They're food for your symbiotic bacteria. They feed it. They're like food for them. You need that. Listen, the sim well, what I recommend that people do is look at the biological design of the human body, then compare it to a cow, a sheep, a lion, a tiger, or an alligator. Your body should, the biological design of your body should point you towards the optimal diet for a human being. That's the way it is. That's the way I do. That's what I did. And that's the way I'm doing it. And if, of course, I hope I heal from this injury to my spine because I'll be out there, doing what I always did at this point in my life.